Hi, my name is Mark. I just want to say that if I look or sound a little bit weird, it's because I'm still a little bit sick. I'll survive, I guess. It's just that videos ain't gonna record themselves. So, welcome to another episode of Guitarist's Week. For those who don't know what this series is about, I think the title is pretty self-explanatory, but still. Basically, every week I do a video talking about stuff that either came out last week or that I found out about last week on the guitar/music industry community thing that I either thought was interesting, funny, or both, or even discussion worthy, I guess. And to be honest, last week I didn't really found as many things interesting as I did in the weeks before. It's not like there was nothing going on, but at least not as much things that I thought, ooh, that's pretty cool. But we still have stuff to talk about, including a comment on my last video, which if you haven't watched, go check out already, because I need your guys' input to know if this series is something you guys would like to keep watching or not. And since we're talking about stuff that happened last week, I don't really want to talk about my videos too much, because I don't really want this to be a self-promoting thing, even though it effectively is. But still, I did this edit on the Yvette and Mark Holcomb, they teach each other a riff interview sort of thing on the Reverb channel. I'm a big fan of those dank edit videos, especially Dog Beef, but I love everyone. And while I was editing last week's episode of Guitarist Week, I wanted to talk about that video, and I edited like a small section of it, and I thought this could be interesting. And I had a lot of fun doing it.
I got a chance to like sort of hear them play every day, and I was like, wow, it sounds like a pain to nail every note. It feels like a little chicken wing.
I wasn't surprised, Kyle. And you're a great musician, so...
And even though Yvette and Mark senpais didn't really notice me, which is fine, I get it. If you guys could check it out, that would be cool. I'll leave that video in the card section right there. And before we get to the other topics, I just want to say, please subscribe to my channel. You're probably aware that YouTube acts a little bit weird. Even if you subscribe to a channel, those channels' videos may really not show up in your subscription box. And even if you ring the little notification bell thingy below, you still really may not be notified of that channel's content. So if you want to stay tuned to my videos, not only do I suggest subscribing and turning on all the notifications, but also follow me on social media. Not only do I post some exclusive stuff there, like improvised solos and jamming over backing tracks, and generally wherever I'm up to at the moment, but I always post there about my videos. Links for the usual suspects will be below, but in general at Marty Guitar. And since you're down there, please consider leaving a like and perhaps share this video on social media. I'd highly appreciate it. But getting back to the video itself, the video I thought was cool was a video by Marty Shwartz in his channel Marty Music, where he went to Rudy's store in Soho, New York, and he tried some vintage guitars and showed some of the guitars they have laying around, especially that pretty awesome Les Paul, which is supposed to be like the first Sunburst Les Paul with P90s before like the 59s or 58s and stuff like that. It was really cool to see, especially because I don't know, around maybe a year and something ago, I was at Rudy's store and actually tried a really cool Collings guitar, sort of an ES335 sort of a thing, and spent some time chatting with Gordon, who was also on Marty's video. Gordon is a beast and such a nice guy, so it was also really cool to see him in Marty's video. And not only that, but apparently they added like an extra room to their store, which I think is pretty awesome. More guitars to try, who doesn't like that, right? And he actually did a video, this wasn't last week, it was I think 2 weeks ago. I actually forgot to talk about it in last week's video, which was a very similar video where he went to, I think, Songbird's Guitar Museum, and he tried some other cool vintage guitars. I really like to see Marty's gear videos. But again, even though when I started playing, Marty was already pretty big on YouTube with all of his lessons and stuff like that, I didn't really watch his lessons because I was more into the metal sort of stuff and he didn't really do lessons on that sort of thing, which I can understand. So I wasn't really an avid watcher of Marty's videos. But his gear videos I think are pretty cool. And another video I thought was really cool, again it's not really guitar related but I want to talk about it, is a video that I'm not really sure how I missed it or how YouTube's algorithm didn't really recommend it to me. But it's an old video really, it's already 2 years old, and it's on the Spectrasonics video YouTube channel, and it's just titled Funk Fight Domi or Domi, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, versus Lewis Cole. And honestly, I'm a big fan of keyboard shreddery. I'm not exactly saying I would switch my guitar skills for keyboard skills, but if for some reason Jordan Rudess would like to give me like 10% of his skills, I wouldn't deny it in any way possible. And I don't necessarily want to sound like Rob from Comics Explained, but when I watched that video I was like, man, let me tell you something. First of all, the groove is strong with those two, and even though Lewis doesn't really do much shreddery on that video, his groove and no choices is on point. And then Domi, I'll suppose it's Dami. If it's Domi or something like it, I'm sorry. Dami just goes insane on that keyboard, especially because when I went on the description, it said that back in 2017, Dami was 17 years old. And I was like, damn, 17-year-old Dami has got some skills. Sure, when you're playing piano and keyboards and stuff like that, because of the nature of the keys, if you know the shape and you can move it in octaves, it's a lot easier to play fast and move stuff around than it is on guitar with all the different shapes and the cage system and 3 notes per string, and then the tuning on the second string is different and stuff like that. You know the commonly known stank face, the face you go when some other musician is playing some awesome stuff and you're just like... That was basically my face the entire video. In fact, I actually heard some licks that I thought were pretty cool that I added to my list of videos I should make in the near future, so you can expect some transcriptions of licks that were played on that video. And I actually thought that for some reason I was the only loser who hadn't really watched that video since 2017, but the video actually has some critically underrated views. It hasn't even reached 400,000 views. Again, it's not often that I add videos to my favorites, but this one was definitely one of them. Go check it out if you haven't already. And before we get to gear, because we all like talking about gear, I just want to briefly mention this. Again, I talked about it in the beginning. Last week in Guitarist's Week, we talked about a bunch of different things, one of them being Guitcon not really happening this year. And I mentioned in that video that we don't really know why. There are a bunch of reasons why Guitcon might not be happening. A couple of the rumors are they don't really want to make it every year, so that in some way the event becomes more special if it doesn't really happen every year. Another rumor being that because there are other technically more successful events, I guess, talking about Guitcon TGU and in a way NAMM and stuff like that. Well, in that video, a guy, well, I think it's a guy, sorry if not. The account is just called Project 2501 or 25,001, I guess, I don't really know. Even though he had a slightly different opinion of mine and he actually wrote a testament-sized comment about us, which in a way I can appreciate. I just want to share his comment with you guys because this is what YouTube comments should strive for. As I mentioned before, his opinion was slightly different than mine, and we'll talk about that later, but he was super nice. His comment was nicely written, straightforward, definitely not forcing his opinion on everybody else, nor saying that because I had a different opinion I was definitely wrong and a cancer of society like some other people. I don't mean to sound like a wuss, but many times I get some weird comments. But again, I've probably been rambling about this, which is probably useless already. But anyway, talking about your comment, the only thing I want to respond about your comment, because it's like I said in my video and like you said in your comment, we're just sort of speculating because we don't really have any confirmations about this sort of stuff. Again, what I think about all of this Henning stuff is, again, I don't really personally know Henning, nor talk to him about this. I actually thought about perhaps messaging him and see if he would respond, but I didn't really have the time, and now I don't really feel like it, honestly. And the only thing I would add to your comment is, I think that probably the main reason that Henning stopped working with Warwick and Thomann for their events is that he wanted the events to not be controlled by any brand. And I mean, of course, in the first Guitcon there were other brands like PRS and Shwartz and stuff like that, but it was basically a Warwick event. Even though there were other brands, mostly everybody played Framus and Warwick stuff. Sure, you can maybe argue that some of the YouTubers had tried Schecter and PRS and all the other brands and Ibanez and stuff like that, but hadn't really tried Framus, so they give it a chance since they were there. And even if you think that it's not necessarily a Framus Warwick event, it would be pretty weird to go to the Framus/Warwick shop, get gear and setups for videos, and then foods and drinks and stuff like that, all for free, and then go bash on the guitar that's like, yeah, these guitars are trash, even if they are, it would probably seem a little bit weird. And the same thing with Thomann. Even if they have all of those brands, they don't really say, oh, you come to Thomann, you gotta play with Harley Benton and stuff like that. Even though I love the TGU content, and I have no problem with it, at least to me it definitely feels like it's not an event for YouTubers to hang out that happens to be at Thomann. It's pretty much an event where YouTubers hang out with Thomann. Sure, they don't really have to do videos with the Thomann guys, they can just do videos by themselves and with all the other YouTubers and not really do videos with Thomann, but it's a Thomann event. Again, in the case of Framus and Warwick, Henning not only stopped working with them, but he actually sold his guitars, including some like one-of-a-kind stuff. And again, there's probably, like you said in your comments, something more to it than just, oh, it's a Warwick event and I want it to be a free event sort of a thing. But looking at 42 Gear Street, Henning's personal event, I really think the main reasons he's not working with Guitcon or TGU are that he just wanted YouTubers to hang out and do videos. Not really be pushed by, oh, these are the brands that sponsor us, these are the brands that we gotta say we like, and these are the things we gotta say they don't. Again, in the case of Warwick and in the case of Thomann, effectively it's like a Warwick event and it's like a Toman event. And while you're at Henning, is it a Henning event? Well, sort of, but who is Henning anyways? He wasn't even the biggest channel at his event. And that's another thing that I thought was interesting, was that most of the channels that went to 42nd Gear Street, or at least the ones that were invited, were pretty small channels, even though Henning knows a lot of the bigger channels. Henning has friends and could have invited some of the big guys, and he invited some of the smaller guys. Excluding like Phil McKnight and Glenn Fricker, the other channels were pretty much smaller channels. And the same thing happened in the first Guitcon, where Henning had more input. And not like there's any problem with bigger channels, but you look at TGU and you have all the big names. You have Rob Chapman, you have Adam Neely, you have Paul Davis or Davids, I can't really remember. Those names get views, and views get you money. And even though Henning is probably not against money, I don't really think he made Guitcon saying, oh, we gotta get the big YouTubers to get money. And I'm also not really saying that Warwick and Framus and Toman are doing these events all for the money, but they definitely have a lot of more to win by having events with YouTubers that get them money. In the case of 42nd Gear Street, sure, if more people subscribe to Henning, he'll get more money because other YouTubers went to his event. But has anyone actually seen that much of a growth in Henning's channel, both at the Guitcon event, TGU, and now 42nd Gear Street? He definitely has an eccentric personality, which I can appreciate, but I don't really think is necessarily hard to work with. I think it just has a very specific idea of what event he wanted to make, and he went to Warwick and said, I want to do this event. Oh, okay, we can do this, but we gotta do it like this. It's not like how I want it, so yeah, do your thing, I'll do mine thing. And they probably went to Toman and said, hey, you wanna do this? Oh, sure, but we gotta do it like this. That's not really what I want to do. Okay, you can do your thing, I'll do my thing. And is that a problem? Well, not necessarily. Again, you guys can tell me what you think in the comment section below. And another thing I want to mention about this, which was the last part of your comment, that you thought that Gibson Swing Framus didn't really have much an event on Guitcon. Well, on one hand, I can agree that if they really wanted to do the event, money wouldn't be a problem, because I think many of the YouTubers wouldn't really mind flying out there by themselves and getting food by themselves and just being on an event because they think the event is cool and the people there are cool. But something that I thought was pretty interesting was when he said Gibson has money problems too. I'm not saying they don't, but do they really? I mean, sure, it's not like Framus and Warwick don't really have a lot of money. Even though they're not one of the biggest brands, they've definitely made a lot of money, especially from the Warwick part of things. But even though Gibson went bankrupt, it's not like they're out of money in any way possible. Their money problems that make them go bankrupt are mostly because they can't really connect with the community. Unless you're a Gibson endorsee, Gibson doesn't really work with YouTubers and stuff like that. Sure, they made a couple of videos at the Crossroads event, but that's nothing really. At least in my opinion, they should be sending gear to YouTubers, working on their designs and quality control, which even if they say it's fixed now, it isn't. And the fact that they're saying that it is only makes it worse, because no company has perfect guitars nor perfect quality control. But I think I got slightly off topic. What I mean is Gibson being out of money, yes and no. If Gibson wanted to invest money on something they think it's important, they would definitely have the money. Like uselessly suing other brands. And you also said in your comment that you think Toman's TGU is not going to happen again because these sorts of events don't really gather enough views. Well, it's not like I don't agree. It's just that I honestly think that the videos made in these sorts of events gotta be really specific. Guitar views are in general going down. Channel subscribers are going up, but views aren't going up at the same speed because there's too much content going around. Everybody made videos at the first Guitcon, but the video that probably got more views was Pete Thorne gathering everybody to play a Plaxion Max. And that's not only an interesting video, but a video that not many people have done before, especially the ones at the event. But then if you look at a video like From Music Is Win at the first Guitcon, where he made a video with that pedal show asking, so, what are you guys' favorite two pedals? What are your Desert Island pedals? I mean, you're asking pedal guys about their favorite pedals. That's basically every video they make. Of course you're not going to get views from that video. But then you have videos of other people saying, oh, we're at TGU Toman, so we're going to play Harley Benton. Well, I mean, sure. If you're Phil McKnight and everybody asks you about Harley Benton guitars, if you do a video on Harley Benton guitars, you're probably going to get views. But if every YouTuber goes to Toman and does videos on Harley Benton guitars, or videos at the custom shop room, well, everybody does that, so they're probably not going to get views. It's the same thing with gear reviews. Who actually watches the pedal review nowadays, or a pedal demo? Everybody does pedal demos nowadays. If for some reason TGU got cancelled and Guitcon got cancelled and all the other events got cancelled, I think it would be really sad. Again, not because, oh, we're not going to get videos from guys going at Toman playing expensive guitars or really cheap guitars. No, not because of that, but because of the sense of the community and all of those collab videos. For instance, one of the guitar videos that I like the most are the NEM videos, but it's not about going to a microphone on the Fender booth and saying, oh, okay, so what are the new guitars for this year? No, it's about like Captain Lee and Danish Pete walking around the Fender booth and then seeing Greg Koch and then getting in his video and Greg getting in their video. And that's what I thought was cool about Guitcon and Toman and stuff like that, was that people would be randomly recording a video and then somebody would get behind them and do a funny face or something like it. I think that should be the spirit of those events. Again, it's just my big opinion of this like huge comment that probably took a large portion of the video. But still, these are my thoughts. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you're going to comment on a video, please do it like Project2501. And actually we're going to talk about Framus a little bit more. We're now getting to the gear portion of the video, and you might be thinking, why are we talking about Framus? They haven't really released new models, but they've released this guitar, which they call a Mayfield. It's basically like an ES335 guitar, and when you first look at it, you think, oh, okay, it's just an ES335 guitar. But then if you look at it closely, it has an Evertune. But then you look at it, where usually there's the backplate on the guitar, this one doesn't. It's an Evertune, and it still has the little holes to put the strings through, but it's all mounted inside the guitar. And I thought that was pretty cool. Sure, in the case of this guitar, it's like a semi-hollow guitar, so it's easier to do it on the inside than it is on a solid body guitar. But still, I find it really hard to believe that you don't really think it looks awesome, not really having a backplate. And funny enough, we've talked about PRS pretty much every episode, and we're not going to stop today, because last week they've announced Mark Holcomb's 7-string SE signature guitar, and even though it's one of those guitars that's been highly requested and highly waited for, I for some reason can't stop looking at the headstock. Sure, they also use this headstock in other 7-string guitars, and maybe it's because they don't do it enough that I'm not used to it or something like it, but for some reason it looks weird to me. I don't know, every time I look at a photo of Mark's 7-string SE, I can't stop looking at the headstock, and not in a good way. I'm like, It's just a slightly bigger PRS headstock, but for some reason it's getting to me. Am I getting crazy, or do you guys agree? And there's also some other PRS SE news, which are that their SC1, I think? Yeah, SC1 single cut, which is basically their single cut model, but in this like slab body type, with just one P90. I think we all know which sort of guitar it's trying to mimic. And it's not like this model is completely new. They have made this sort of model before. But something that I don't really remember about the last model, maybe I can look it up. I'm not really sure if the first iteration of this model had the birds on the fretboard or not. But this one doesn't, this one has dots. And I know that dots are supposed to be cheaper to manufacture, but I don't really like to see a PRS with dots. Sure, this one is trying to mimic that sort of Les Paul Jr. look, and Juniors had the dots, so maybe they tried to make it more authentic by having the dots and not the birds. But personally, if I want a PRS, I want the birds. It's the same thing with the Marty Friedman SE guitar. I see a lot of them cheap out there, and of course I've considered getting one, but then I look at it and it has the stars. Sure, he liked the stars more than the birds, and he actually had stars on his signature Ibanez a couple of years ago, so him wanting the stars doesn't really surprise me. You definitely see a lot of older PRSs having dots and not birds. Some people like it, and again, it's not really because I don't really like dots in every guitar. I don't, but that's not the point. As I mentioned before, if I'm buying a PRS, even if it's an SE, I want the birds. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Tell me in the comment section below. And yeah, I guess that's it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and on all the notifications. Follow me on social media, and if you can, share this video on social media. I'd highly appreciate it. I don't just do videos like this, I also do lessons. Either guitar lessons, like tips and tricks, and videos on soloing and improvising and playing out of the box. And I also have this series called Bass Tricks for Guitar, because for those who don't really know, I actually started out as a bass player and gigged around local bands for a couple of years before I eventually moved on to guitar. So when I did, I guess I brought some things to my guitar playing that maybe those of you who didn't really start out on bass either don't think about or don't think about consciously. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you didn't really start out on bass, definitely check out that series. There's probably something you can learn from it. I also do composing and songwriting lessons, not only sharing tips and tricks with you guys and explaining music theory and stuff like that, but I've been also doing this series where I compose a song and show you guys my process. And this other series, I guess it's lessons too, where I transcribe and have a lick that I either think is interesting, or the lick itself is a little bit different from what whoever played the lick usually plays. videos. Again, I'll leave those playlists in the comment section right there, and I highly suggest you go check them out. And if you have suggestions for videos, I have this dedicated series called Yvette, You Ask I Teach. I know, pretty boring, generic, and self-explanatory title, but as you can probably guess, and as the name implies, in that series I pretty much teach anything you guys leave in the comment section below, at least guitar and their music related, of course. So if there's something you'd like me to talk about, just leave it in the comment section below with the hashtag Yvette. And yeah, I guess that's it. Again, thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow me on social media, and if you can share this video on social media, I'd highly appreciate it. If you can, check out some of my back catalog, leave a comment for whatever you thought about of this video and what we talked about, or a comment with a suggestion for my Yvette series, and cheers!